Hey, hello Rams. Jim Tabor here, just checking in to do the gospel reflection for the 19th Sunday in Ordinary Time. So this weekend we're going to hear from the Gospel of Luke, and it's chapter 12. And in this passage, Luke is sharing his thoughts on the end times and the importance of faith. So if you read through the other readings, they're all about faith. But I'm going to focus in on something a little different, and it really kind of woke me up as I read through this. So Luke 12, 47 through 48 has this to say. It's at the very end of the gospel, and it's kind of shocking because we always think of Jesus, just this loving guy, right? But in this part of the passage, there are some real words of, hey, I'm serious about this stuff. And it says, that servant who knew his master's will, but did not make preparations, nor act in accord with his will, shall be beaten severely. And the servant who was ignorant of his master's will, but acted in a way deserving of a severe beating, shall be beaten only lightly. Much will be required of the person entrusted with much, and still more will be demanded of the person entrusted with more. So, that really woke me up as I was reading this. And hey, who are the people that have been trusted with much and more? I would say that's all of us. As a student here, you're being sent to a Catholic high school, 4 years at a Catholic high school. So you know what the master's will is by the time you're done at Regis. Some of you have been going to Catholic school since you were 4 years old. You definitely have been entrusted with much more than the common Catholic out there. And so what is Jesus saying? At the end of time, when it's the final judgment, it says, more will be demanded of the person entrusted with more. You have been given this great gift of faith by your parents, and the church is entrusting it with you to pass on, to the next generation of Rams. And the question I think you have to ask yourself are a couple things. One, are you taking advantage of the education you're receiving here to truly know and understand the Father's will? And how do we know what the Father's will is? Well, we look at the example of Jesus, right? We live as Jesus lived. That's how we know we're doing the will of the Father. And it's easy to check yourself on that. Just, are you actually living the faith? Are you just going through the motions? It's very easy to be a Catholic, show up at Mass, say a couple prayers during the week and say, hey, I'm good, right? But that's not really living the faith and diving into it. If we're going to live as Jesus lived, right? Which is a life of service, a life of compassion, a life of forgiveness, and a life of bringing others into the church. So, is your own personal life, does it reflect those type of things? And then the last thing that came out of this reading for me as I was thinking about it is I started thinking about Spider-Man. Because if you've watched the Spider-Man stuff, with great power comes great responsibility. And again, by your baptism, you've been given this great power to extend the mercy and love of Christ to others. And the question is, are you doing that? In the Spider-Man movies, all of them, initially, none of these Spider-Mans accept this great power. And unfortunate things happen. And it's only after they've gone through some trials and tribulations that they understand, what this power and responsibility bring. So, and sometimes that's what's involved in our faith as well. Sometimes we need to stumble and fall before we realize, this great power we've been given to forgive others and bring the mercy and love of Jesus, to our world. So, great power brings great responsibility. More will be demanded of the person entrusted with more. Hey, a couple things to think about as you, go about your weekend. I'm getting ready to go to Connecticut to see my granddaughter, and I look forward to seeing all of you in a couple weeks. Take care. God bless. Go Rams.